Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
And George is like watching movies now. I mean, he's like a pop cultural expert, at least in
Two genres.
immediate circle of his family who never watch any movies. Right. He's the go-to film critic of the Warners of New Jersey.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're now calling him, George, should we watch this?
Yeah, my sister texts me and she's like, I just found your podcast and I haven't seen any of these movies either.
We should have an episode where all the Warners in one room.
I have to buy a bigger interface.
You're going to need a lot more inputs.
Yeah, you're going to need like 12 inputs.
A couple of decibel pads, if I understand it correctly.
Yes, decibel pads, yes.
Christ Party of 13, Christ Party of 13.
6 kids, Catholic.
Right.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
Guys, I watched a movie for fun.
Wait,
what?
On
Save it
Saturday
for the
night.
pod. What was it?
Well, I don't think it's something that
you
we're going
never
to be
know.
doing. It was
Season 4.
It was an alien movie. What was it called? Hold on, it's coming to me. Arrival.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Yeah,
with
good.
Amy Adams. I think.
I don't know any of the actors. It was good.
Redhead.
Yeah, a couple of guys that I work with at the Guitar Center told me that I should watch it, and I guess I kind of feel like I'm maybe like cheating on you guys a little bit.
Are they producers of the show?
No, we all watched it, and then we talked about it the next day.
All right, Dan, cross that off of season 3.
Oh my gosh, he's in a
and
movie book club.
I suggested, yo guys, we should record this and like put it in a podcast form.
Whoa, he is cheating on us.
Not just playing.
He's already shopping.
No, they just wanted me to see it, so I watched it. It was good.
Huh. Hey George,
I can think of about 400 movies.
Did you open up your Christmas present yet?
I think it's still in the mailbox.
Dude, go.
Totally forgot about it.
What?
Dude.
What?
All right, hold on. I'll be right back. I'm
Take
serious.
the mic with you.
I'll be right back.
Record him going to the mailbox.
Do like pitter patter.
Open the door. Almost, I'm Michael Winslow.
We could talk about him while he's gone.
Let's
and
talk about him. While
the listeners will hear it, and he won't hear it until we publish the episode. I love it.
Can you believe he went and saw a movie without us?
Oh my gosh.
I'm devastated.
My
I was
heart.
like,
My heart.
weren't we going to do a whole season on invasion movies?
Ugh. No. Not anymore.
Not anymore. It's
Now
all over.
just nothing but Michael Winslow movies. That's all we're doing. Season
Just for
3.
that, I think we should watch Sleepaway Camp.
Oh, we're watching Sleepaway Camp.
and make him watch Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
I've got Return of the Killer Tomatoes here. I was watching it the other day. It's not good, but I watched it as a kid, and I thought it was funny then. So I guess
Stuff. I think the Stuff is probably way better than that.
I watched that the other day, and it's a hell of a movie.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And the remake of The Blob is good.
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, it's a good 90s, late 80s, early 90s. I think it's late 80s, 88-ish.
Oh, he's back. Stop talking about him.
Yeah, I hear keys. With the mail system, I'm surprised we got it. I still have packages that I mailed 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, the priority is coming through fine. Thanks
priority's
to
good.
Joy for taking extra money and actually serving us.
I don't want to hear about your packages, Travis.
Yeah.
But yeah, my replacement DVDs or Blu-rays from the Friday the 13th pack that I bought in July and received in October.
What's in the box?
They were last seen November 30th in Kansas City, and they are still in transit to the next facility. And it is
my son's
December
controller
30th.
is sitting in Maryland since December 19th. Christmas gift. It hasn't moved.
Did you like print out a picture of it and wrap it up and be like, haha?
No, I just told him one more gift is coming.
Oh, that's nice. Preserve the mystery.
Preserve it.
All right, so
he's opening on air.
First unboxing. First ever unboxing podcast ever.
Yes, you have to find the soundbite of what's in the box. What's in the box?
This box. I'm sure this box opens. Hold on.
California, stay away from here.
The frig?
John Doe will have won.
Jeez Louise.
Wow. It's fortified.
Yeah, sure is.
I learned how to wrap packages from shipping guitar pedals, and so the movies get
please don't
extra
do that.
protection.
He just almost pulled the blade towards him.
Ooh.
That would have totally changed our night.
Listen. I'm
Listen,
a professional here.
I'm pretty skilled with the X-Acto blade, but I've taken it in the thigh a few times.
Yeah, that's what she said.
And the thumb. Ooh, that's good sound.
All right, drum roll, please.
A little bit of the bubbly. Do like Carson the Karnak.
I don't know what that is.
Oh my god.
Blood and Black Lace. A film by Mario Bava.
The first real Giallo.
The first
Wow.
real
Talked
Giallo.
about it a lot. Looks like Michael Myers' prototype, kind of running around killing people.
Death Walks on High Heels.
Now
A
that
film
one-
by Luciano Ercoli?
Yep.
Ercoli?
Ercoli.
Ercoli. There we
Ercoli.
go.
Did he do that? I'm not sure. Death Walks
Wow.
on High Heels is in my top 5 Jolly. Now, it's not
Wow.
an Argento, it's not a Bava, but it is a crowd pleaser. Everyone I've shown it to has been equal parts shocked that they made it and satisfied that it goes as well as it does.
Well, thank you, sir.
So, Merry Christmas to Travis and George.
We're gonna have a
Wow.
date night.
Ooh.
We could do a DVD swap.
Oh.
We'll do back and forth. Yeah, you get it.
Watch them together, watch them separate, I don't
together,
care.
separately.
But those are two very good Jollos.
It's a Jollo. I'm trying to go with
It's a jollo good time.
Jollo good time. There you go. Have a holly Jollo Christmas. There you go.
There you go.
Oh my goodness.
So we're gonna talk about a movie, right?
What?
A movie that we just watched.
Gonna do that right now, I think. First he leaves us for another production group, and now he's directing.
They're not.
Louise.
Listen, dude. This has always been my dog and pony show.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh!
Now he's getting his dog and his ponies out for you to look
Someone
at.
didn't have their green M&Ms.
Or did I?
Or did I? What was in that mailbox?
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed. I came back all winded because it's like 50 yards away.
He found a box of Snippy.
Holy mackerel.
Look, it's a box of Snark.
So, George, you watched a movie tonight.
Sure did.
You already had expectations. We established last week that you were familiar with the idea of the movie. You'd even heard a speech from the movie before. But
Yes,
maybe
sir.
not from watching the movie, but maybe from pop culture. You really didn't know if you had seen the movie that we were going to watch.
Right.
Had you ever seen Dirty Harry before, now that you've watched it again?
Yeah, but I think my father-in-law was watching it while I was over their house one time a long time ago. I do remember the speech at the end. But I really didn't remember how it ended.
It comes twice. He says it twice.
Right. He says it in the beginning, and I was like, oh, that's weird. I thought that was like an ending thing. But whatever. So, had I seen it? No. Had I seen the last scene? Kind of, yeah. I was in the room, but I wasn't paying attention. So. But, I mean, who's not familiar with Dirty Harry? Like, I mean, I knew that he was a cop. I think he was a cop. I knew he was badass. I knew he was a man's man.
Man's man.
And I knew he had a big gun. So.
Can I have some honesty?
Sure.
I haven't seen this movie before either.
Stop it, really?
What?
I mistakenly, because of my age, assumed that I did see it. But this movie was not familiar to me.
Wow.
I have seen, I believe Sudden Impact was my first Dirty Harry movie.
Is that a sequel?
It's, I think, 2 years after this.
Okay.
So that's the movie where he says, go ahead, make my day.
Oh.
So that's how I knew it. So I was waiting for that quote the whole movie, and then I'm like, wait a minute, it's not in there. And then I realized why this movie was not familiar to me, because I had never seen it.
Wow.
Deadpool and Sudden Impact were my two Dirty Harry movies. So
There's a Dirty Harry new movie called Deadpool.
It's called Deadpool, yeah.
That's cool.
Way before Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not nearly as
Figured.
mouthy.
Yeah, there's no fourth wall, but Jim Carrey's in it.
Really?
Yeah, he plays like a rock star, like metalhead.
Like an extra, or is he
No,
actually?
he's
in
like
it?
not a main character, but Callahan goes to see him and talk to him about. I think he was a witness to something.
Because that had to be like really early in his career.
Yeah, it was like, I think it might have been around In Living Color, so early 90s.
And he's got like a Buffalo Bill vibe, if I
Mhm.
remember right. Like the way he dresses is very like Bill dancing to
Yeah.
Goodbye Horses. Like just lots of like Aerosmithy kind of scars.
Yeah, I
and
think
stuff.
he was borrowing Axl Rose type thing because the Guns N' Roses were really big then
Word.
when it came out. So yeah, it was kind of a surprise for me too.
Cool.
Well, that's fun. We backed our way into back-to-back Travis is a student now episodes.
Oh, I'm not a student at Dirty Harry. No.
Oh.
I've seen many of them.
But you ain't seen the first one. My
I'd never.
goodness.
I think I'd seen, like George said, saw parts because of it being so prominent. But when I watched it from beginning to end, I realized I had not seen probably 90% of this movie. So that was interesting.
Well, what was your initial impression, George? Did it live up to what you thought a Dirty Harry movie would be?
Yes, there was so much toxic masculinity. Just so much. And racism.
Oh, God, yeah.
It was very 70s. The soundtrack was funky.
It's kind of a Giallo film.
Hot Mary. I mean, does it get any better than that?
Is that one of your notes?
Yeah.
I wrote Hot Mary with a question mark. Because she was not hot at all.
Wow.
All right, she was like 70s. She was like Janis Joplin
beauty
hot.
is in the eye of the beholder.
This is
and
true.
Like your father would say.
If she's ugly, I wouldn't be holding her.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, going to continue to out my dad. My first note I wrote was Hugh Jackman.
Huge Ackman.
Hugh Jackman. Like the whole time I was watching him, I saw Hugh Jackman playing that part.
Yeah,
like, he reminded me of him
Yeah.
so much. I was like, wow, if they ever wanted to reboot this, that's your Dirty Harry right there. He looks like him.
He'd have
And he
to
acts like him.
he'd have to get like 12-inch lifts though to be able to be that imposing. Because Clint Eastwood's got to be
He's
like
pretty
what,
imposing.
6'3"?
Yeah. But Jackman, he commands a room no matter how tall he is. I think he could do it.
That is true.
And I wrote also a lot of unnecessary racism. Like it was like watching Blazing Saddles.
It was the 70s,
Like I was just
man.
waiting for like a line of people, every racist you could find, like in Blazing Saddles, where it's just like the Nazis behind the Klan, behind the the bikers, behind the this, behind that, and it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, it was bad.
I don't think it was like too racist though for the time. I mean, like when they went down the list of like, bad names you don't say. And
yeah.
and
he threw that
Harry,
last one in.
Harry said the last one and he winked.
Yeah,
Like obviously like he's
it's necessary,
right.
but like Scorpio was targeting certain.
It's not like it
people.
was normal at this time. It still was kind of like
Yeah,
it still was kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like
taboo, ish.
not taboo, but shocking. It
Shocking,
was still kind
yeah.
of shocking to be like, oh,
Yeah, I
they're
mean, they
just
were
saying
throwing it
that in
around
this
like crazy.
movie. Yeah.
They make it a point, especially when they're reading the Scorpio note. They
Mhm.
emphasize the fact that this is outside the bounds of how they are comfortable. With him, the cop guy refusing to read the entire note, as he probably should. And then, it's an interesting period of transition from, a closeted racist 50s to the like aware of it and trying to do better 70s. We're in that transition where it's still a thing that, can get like an uncomfortable laugh out of people when Harry is, engaging in what will become like a signature for Clint Eastwood if you go up through even like Gran Torino. The idea of like he hates everybody and here's a list of all the people. Like I don't
And all
know.
the kinds of people, yeah.
Yeah, although in Gran Torino, I don't think he hates all the people. He instead just insists on reducing everyone to a label, which I think he thought was like making it better. I don't know that it makes it better, Mr.
Well, I think he
Mr.
kind of takes the
Eastwood.
mentality of like the Grinch. Like everybody says, the Grinch didn't hate Christmas; he just hated people. And it's like, so he was like an equal opportunity hater. It was just Christmas got in the way, but it was just an opportunity to hate the people.
That was a meme, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It's
but
like
I mean,
the Grinch didn't hate Christmas. He hated people. And I can get
but
behind that.
It's been said for decades.
Yeah.
Like it's just some people just don't want to be bothered,
And if it
so
was
they kind of hate everybody.
if the
Can I
Grinch
tell you-
was directed in 1970 by Don Siegel, it would say something like he hates the who's and the booze and the woos and the doos, like especially woos. Like, oh, come on.
And don't forget Horton, because he's an elephant.
Oh.
Can I tell you that when the killer was like met up with that guy who was
Beat the shit out of him.
supposed to beat him up, when he had him sit in the chair and get comfortable, I was like, oh, are they going to make the killer gay? And that's why he's like a killer.
Oh, he's going to get B.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
was
no.
like, that's kind of like, I thought they had gotten past that in the 70s. You know how Psycho, back in Psycho, he's a cross-dresser, not they make it very clear that he's not just a cross-dresser, right?
Right.
Or like a, and then, Dan pointed out that there's other movies that take that formula,
Right.
and they don't do it the right way. You know
So
what I
thought
mean?
They were going to kind of
And I thought that
unleash-
that's what
yeah.
that's what this was going to be like. They were going to make the killer gay,
Right.
and that's why he's all.
He
And I was like, I hope.
seemed-
And then they didn't, and I was like, oh, cool.
Right.
He's just going to beat the crap out of him. Cool.
Yeah, he seemed. I mean, that time period is very like it's right after Vietnam, and all the riots and everything. So you can see the tension completely.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
I
San
thought they were
Francisco.
going to give you a why the shooter was doing this, and I was like, I really don't need that.
Right.
Like, especially if it's like, I don't know. But I'm glad that they didn't.
I like a motive. Sometimes.
I like that in this movie it really is about Harry. So many movies in this format, even down to a lot of superhero movies. I'm looking at you, Batman '89, Dark Knight Rises. They're not about the hero; they're about the villain, and the hero's just kind of engaged in the story arc of the villain. And this one, it's very much a Harry arc. I like that.
Actually, I hear what you're saying. I kind of got a Joker feel from the shooter.
Oh, he's definitely got a proto Heath Ledger Joker vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the movie itself,
Without the acting.
he goes for it. There's a
Well,
couple
yeah.
of parts he really goes for it.
Yeah.
That speech with him and Harry in the park, where he's beating him up and don't pass out yet, had such a Batman Joker in the interrogation
Yeah.
room vibe, but like
Yep.
roles reversed. Very interesting.
I couldn't get past. I mean, he was just so over the top. And I like him. There are other movies that I love that he's in, but he was obviously either making choices that were not reined in, or the director said, "This is what you're doing."
Yeah.
Because
I'm giving it a pass.
I don't.
Because it's like 1971. You know whose acting was really
Godfather
bad?
came out around that time too, and there was a lot of really good acting in that
Well,
movie.
you guys need to show me that movie because I haven't seen that.
Whoa. Hold on.
What?
What? You haven't seen The Godfather yet?
No. But the point
Oh,
that I was
man.
about to make
Mafia
was that
season.
the worst acting in this movie was the distraught mother.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, yeah.
That was the worst.
She was pretty.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
there was a lot of them that were '70s actors,
but
that
she
you were
was
just
very
like,
much
"Eh."
like, oh, hey, we can only use this. We can only use this. I don't know, set. We're only allowed to shoot here if the landlord's daughter can be in the movie. Okay,
Right,
we'll make
right,
her the grieving
right.
mom
Oh,
because
God.
she didn't have a lot of on-screen charisma.
Mm. When I first started being in advertising, I worked for car dealerships,
Mhm.
and the owner of the dealership always insisted on being in the commercials,
Yes.
That's never a good idea.
and they are all like that.
Yeah.
Do you want to buy a car? Like, it's just like, oh my God. Yeah, they're all like that. So it's funny Dan said that because it did seem like someone was doing someone a favor.
Come down. to the market.
Yeah.
Well, when I saw her
Flea market
today, 'cause
Montgomery.
I picked up on that too. Just in a movie where everything's kind of popping, then they get to her and it's just like, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing. Like, ooh.
Yeah,
It's just like a mini mall.
I don't know.
Minimal.
We need to come up with some kind of nomenclature for that kind of acting because it's not community theater. It really is just like
It's-
transactional favor
it's-
acting, right?
it's
call
flea-
it nepotism.
It's
It's
flea
a-
market Montgomery.
it's
is
a
what it is.
Quid pro quo acting.
Quid pro quo acting. Yeah.
Because it reminds me so much. There's two that always pop out to me in that vein, and it's they're both shopkeepers. The one in Nail Gun Massacre, that lady, and
Oh yeah, that movie.
and then the
didn't see that.
shopkeepers
Who the fuck
or
is seeing
the
that?
convenience store staff in the Mutilator / Fall Break, which I know you guys love. The Mutilator.
Another one. Oh
But-
God.
Both of those. I don't expect you to know these yet, but we'll get to them.
You know, an
Someday.
Alligator 7.
Oh, I mean, they're right up there with the. Oh God, what's that movie where the house shoots that guy? No, it's actually the house shoots a lady. Have you guys seen?
What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
This is a movie that happens. I'll find you
I'm sure you will.
I guess we're doing some bonus material.
yeah, right.
It's coming.
I'll
The
drop
house that
in.
shot the lady. 1972 Shallow.
No, it's a. It's like a monster Frankenfish. It's like a sci-fi
Yeah,
level
right, Frankenfish. the
Frankenfish.
the
where
classic. Everyone's seen
the
that.
line is something like, "The house shot her. This is insane." I'll drop that audio in right here.
The house shot her. This is insane!
Okay.
So you guys can hear how good it was. The house
It's
shot
like
her.
a Jim Carrey overact.
This is insane.
Oh man,
That's
Jeez,
funny.
we gotta rein it in, guys. Oh my God.
So Hot Mary. Showing her fun bags a few times.
Yeah, why was she just
Wow.
like, you forget it. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna try and analyze that scene.
Hey, I
Dan,
do
I
want to
know-
analyze that scene, but here's why. Nothing to do with Hot Mary and her boyfriend.
Oh, I know what you're going to say. Can I say it?
Go ahead.
Maybe not.
What
I don't know.
am I going to say, Travis, who just watched the movie for the first time?
I had a very, I think it was that scene that you were going to talk. Very rear window feel, Hitchcock. Like
Okay.
when they're with the binoculars and they're
Mhm.
watching all that shit going on. Now that's a different scene. The Mary was when he was peeping, but when they were watching from the rooftop, I was like, oh, this is
the
such a
real Hot
Hitchcock.
Mary?
Well, she was kind of thinner.
She was.
The swinger,
I don't know if she
the
was hotter. Yeah, the swinger.
the Harry, you need to get out
Yeah.
more, or whatever he says. You need to live a little.
The Mr. Cotter and a leg lock.
That
yes.
was that was the
Yes.
real Hot.
It's a whole
Mary.
different kind of dirty Harry when he's.
Yeah. But yeah, it was very Hitchcockian. Yeah, is that a word? Ha.
No, that's
Yeah.
actually. I mean, that's what. Yeah, that's what you would say.
I thought that's what we were going to talk about, the Hitchcock influence on the rear window
It's not.
peeping scene.
But
It's
while
not,
we're
so-
talking about it, because this is definitely one of our less linear episodes, let's go down a couple of things. You've got the Hitchcock reference, the rear window voyeurism from a rooftop with binoculars. If it's if it's not a reference, it's at least a Hitchcock type feel to that scene, right? You've got a literal peeping Tom when he's peeping in on Hot Mary.
Well, in his defense, they were just he was just checking to see what was in the luggage. He was
Stop
Well,
it.
sure.
Just
I mean, he was
stop.
doing his
He
job,
was.
but at
No.
the same
Yeah,
time,
he was doing his job.
he was peeping through a window. So I
he
mean,
definitely was. Yes.
that's
George
another great
McFly.
movie from 1960 called Peeping Tom. Now, granted,
Right.
that's a whole different thing, but this movie is just like, it's a melting pot of things we've seen before, streamlined, very much in the way Halloween mixes a bunch of things we've seen before, but like streamlined and like more efficient. This is another one where it repackages a lot of things we've already seen, ups the intensity, ups the violence, and the toxic masculinity. Sure, that too. Not really a term they used back in the 70s. I think they would have just called this man stuff. But it just, it's everything on at least 10.5, if not 11. And the movie just skips along because of it. Not a lot of exposition, not a lot of telling us anything. It's all showing us, not unlike No Country for Old Men, but more linear, more straightforward. But a lot of
Yeah.
show, don't tell, which is what I wanted to talk about with the Hot Mary scene. there's a lot of scenes in this movie that, in lieu of exposition, they replace it with action. And what it does to the pacing is keep the movie quick.
Right.
But, for example, just him called to stand on a trash can and peep in a window, and then before he can even finish the fist fight, to get called to a suicide attempt. I mean, it's just show don't tell, right? Undermanned, overworked, and willing to do whatever it is that the city needs, not necessarily out of the goodness of his heart, but out of some kind of devotion to duty. Gets the job done, keeps the story moving. You don't have to pause the movie to say, oh, well, back when my wife was driving home late, she got killed by a drunk driver. And then I went to the funeral and I said to myself, Harry Callahan, now you can start swinging with hippie chicks. You know, there's none of that. There's just real quick. Oh, God, we have to talk. Okay, let's get it over with. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Yeah, my wife died drunk driver. Okay, keep moving. And that's one of this movie's major assets is it's just the narrative keeps clicking.
Yeah, I think that's why this is such I'm going to make a generalization here. A movie that men like. You know, because there's not a whole hell of a lot of talking.
Right.
And it's a lot of showing. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does reference a few more movies. Did you see the part when Hot Mary's dad hit Harry with his car?
That's funny.
I could have sworn that happened.
But no, I didn't realize it, Dan, when I was watching the movie, that's what was happening. But you're definitely on point about that.
I mean, think about the bank robbery scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
All he's trying to do is order lunch. And you don't get a bunch of back and forth like, hey, I see you in here all the time. Hey, I like your new shirt. Hey, how's the family? Oh, I'm so sorry. I hope are you out there dating anymore, Harry? I'm so sad about your wife. No, it's like, hey, you want the usual? Yeah, which usual? Okay, boom. We know he comes here all the time, and he's a simple guy just getting his thing. He's
like, that's how dudes operate.
Yeah, and it's just his description of the car, you know, he's just efficient. Like, he's not trying to tell us any more than he needs to. The guy gets it. We all get it. He's dirty freaking Harry. He's a cop. He's doing cop stuff. He's eating a hot dog. Oh, shit, right? And just his body language as he leaves the cafe, the casual nature of his walk, I mean, it tells you right away who this guy is and what he does. Now, firing
into a crowd. Did he even put the hot dog down, or did he kick it with him?
He had it in his mouth.
He's got it in the mouth. I don't think he's got both hands free for the firearms, but I don't know that shooting a .44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world that would take your head clean off,
right,
is a good idea to shoot toward civilians.
No.
That's some pretty questionable gun work. But
there was a ton of that.
Oh, God.
But that's a big old gun.
You had to suspend reality for that a bunch of times in this movie.
There's a great scene in Sudden Impact in that diner where he goes in, same thing. He gets a coffee. She gives him his coffee, and then she pours almost the entire container of sugar into his coffee. And he leaves. He drinks it and spits it out, and he goes back in. The place was being robbed. There was 4 guys, and there were guns. Every morning, he orders black coffee. So she filled it with sugar so he would come back in. So he left. The guys with the guns were hiding their guns, and then he left. So then they got their guns out, and they started doing their thing. And he comes back in. And he's like, every morning, I order black coffee. This morning, I drank it, and she filled it with sugar. I just came in to complain. It was just the whole thing where she was telling him, there's something going on here.
Right.
I'm going to fill your cup with sugar so you come back in.
I got it.
It's a great scene. You can get it on YouTube. You don't have to watch the whole movie.
Okay.
But it's very Dirty Harry. And it was like, again, that was another scene I was waiting for, and it didn't happen. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I was so angry.
So the movie opens up with the kind of non sequitur sniper over the swimming pool.
Can we talk about guns?
I mean, do you want to talk about guns?
I do, man.
So do you guys want to hear a funny story?
Absolutely.
Okay, this isn't a funny story, but I'm going to tell you a thing that I did today because I was like, man.
You promised me a funny story.
You did say funny story.
So.
Okay, so here's the punchline.
That'd be funny.
There is a website that I wasn't aware of until today and now I'm probably going to be on it a lot, the Internet Movie Firearms Database.
Oh,
That's a website.
It's like Mr. Skin for gun geeks.
So it's Internet
I like it.
Movie Firearms Database.org, imfdb.org. And you search for the movie, and it's just like, you can tell the guys that are writing this are like the most dedicated of folks, because it's just gushing about how good the guns are in different movies, and it's got all these matching stock photos and stuff, so you can know exactly what you're looking at.
Retired Army Rangers.
Well, that's
So
good.
I found this website because I
It's a
wanted
good
to know
website.
what Buffalo Bill's pistol was. Because once I got a good look at the long barrel 44 in this movie, I thought, man, it's just the gun he was using in Silence of the Lambs that was so chunky in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, damn, is it a 50 caliber? Like, is it like a Desert Eagle revolver? Like, it can't be. What is this thing? Turns out it's a Python, which is a 357. It's just they have so much support under the barrel, and it's a long barrel. It's like a 6-inch barrel or something. So it's just a huge, unnecessarily huge 357 after all in Silence of the
Rick
Lambs.
Grimes' gun.
The Python.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Python.
So that's pretty fun. But then, the 44 in this, man, I just kept getting... Did you ever play Lethal Enforcers as a kid, the arcade game?
Yeah, it is just like a gun.
I just kept getting Lethal Enforcers vibes, which I guess it's backwards, but that's where I come into the 44 Magnum is 1992's 50 cents per play. You can't shoot me, copper.
That sound is just like... It's so loud. Like, there's no way that you can stand next to that gun going off and not go deaf.
Lethal
Which one?
Enforcers.
The one he shoots in this movie.
Oh, the 44.
Yeah.
I don't think different calibers are louder than others.
I'm just saying the gunshot that they do, the recording, whether it's the real gunshot from that gun, it's loud. It's like a cannon.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about like in real life.
No, I've never heard a 44 next.
I was
next
just
to
gonna
me.
say like all guns are very loud.
Yeah, they're loud.
Oh, you can tell the difference, though. I mean, if you're at the gun range and you get a... what's a nice way to say fellow? You get one of these guys who has taken it upon himself to become a civilian sniper with a 50 cal. Have you ever been to a gun range when somebody's shooting a 50 cal?
No.
Because you know it.
No.
It's ridiculous. Like, even with your ear protection, it's just like, damn, dude. Like, come on. You're over here with your
Someone's showing off.
9mm, like, pew, 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 pew. And then he's over there like, kaboom, and it's like, okay, that was loud, but we're shooting the same targets, bro.
Maybe I was new to firearms when I shot a 9mm. I didn't think it was like pew pew. It was like
Yeah, it was loud.
it was I had a kick and it was loud.
I mean, it's louder than a cap gun, but when you're standing next to a guy with a an AR or got an AK, something with like a 7.62 round, they're a little louder. They got more snap to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that time I went to the range, I shot in the same session it was a Glock, which is 9, another 9mm, I think an M9 maybe.
Ooh, that's my favorite.
And a 357. And they were all freaking loud. All of them. I didn't think there was much difference. Is a 357.
3%.
Yeah. With a 6-inch barrel, and it's kind of big in my hand, so.
Yeah, 6 inches is a lot of barrel, man.
It's good though because the longer barrel, especially if you've got like the weight underneath the barrel, it's more steady in your hand. It's easier to shoot actually. It's more accurate and there's more weight to the gun, so it kicks less.
The shaft is supported, so
Shut up. There are benefits to having a longer barrel. That's all.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's what
sir.
she said.
I think the first Magnum I shot was probably in the 4-inch range. It was my dad's old service pistol. And he did the thing where it was the first time I was shooting Magnum, and he loaded like 5 instead of 6 and didn't tell me. And so just because he knew I was going to overcompensate. And so I get to that last one, and I like almost throw the damn thing on the ground. I'm like, okay, I get it. I was pushing too hard. Ha ha ha. That was pretty
and
funny.
he was sitting back there going, I know what you're thinking. Did I shoot 6 or 5?
We were there with a buddy of mine who is a Boy Scout from forever. So, we're like 15, 16, and he's been shooting for 10, 12 years. And so I get the shotgun out, and he's like, okay, now you just want to make sure you hold that real loose on your shoulder. And then he looks at my dad, and my dad looks at him, and neither one are nice enough to tell me that's a bad idea. But I could tell. If you're exchanging looks at people, it's not good advice. So luckily, I had the good foresight to jam that thing in there as hard as I could, and it's still...
5 minutes later, you're against the wall, readjusting your shoulder.
Oh, no, his shoulder's dislocated at that
That's what I'm
point.
saying. He's pulling a Riggs and banging his shoulder against the wall.
It was fine. It was fine. Shotguns are unwieldy. I'm not a huge fan.
It's a good deterrent, though.
Oh, man, that just racking
My brother told me just that sound alone
Mm.
can stop most home invasions. Just that
Yeah, man.
guy outside usually knows that means business.
Yeah, that'll get you clinching if you're a bad guy.
Yeah.
Well, while we're
Anyway.
talking about guns, guys, let's mosey on over to SWAT Corner. I know you guys are excited to join me over there.
Yes, please.
We
please.
need a jingle for SWAT Corner. Hey! This movie, of all the movies that we've watched so far, this movie really just emphasizes the importance of a tactical unit because they don't have one. And a lot of these scenes go a lot better if you have a dedicated tactical unit. And so we've become spoiled that every movie we've watched so far, it's an assumed value that you have some kind of SWAT unit, and then we can pick apart their tactics and look at, how they've evolved and stuff. But this one, there is no SWAT team. It's just
But it's San
Dirty
Francisco.
Harry.
They should have had one.
SWAT teams don't come around until the 80s. Hold on. When is that
Well,
show?
I mean,
because they're big in L.A. L.A.'s the part where they start. San Francisco doesn't get one until, I'll have to look it up, but probably...
You can go back to
Well,
the 60s and see riot gear.
Why do they need a SWAT team? They have Clint Eastwood.
Well, and that's the thing.
True.
Clint Eastwood with the wrong sniper rifle on a rooftop is just begging
Bad
for
news.
a SWAT team. You got to have a SWAT team.
Yeah.
I only know that because I was looking at the Internet Movie Firearm Database, and they go through the whole thing of why it's a poor choice, but consistent with the character. I'm telling you, this website loves movies and guns.
It's good.
But I guess the rifle he chooses is some kind of Magnum type rifle, and it says it's a poor choice for a counter sniper engagement, but fits the character of Overkill, of a guy who carries a 44 Magnum. So that's cool that it analyzes both aspects of it. That's a cool website. I'm gonna live there now.
I'm going to have to pay to visit.
What's it called again?
The Internet Movie Firearms Database.
You got to work that into our theme song.
IMFDB.
.org.
.org.
Yeah.
It's a .org, so you can trust it.
Oh, I trust them. They're good. They do good work. Sure, this soundbite will never come back to haunt me.
They do the Lord's work. I just playing.
But yeah, so you've got the situation where they've got the guy pinned down in a building, and they have no entry team. They have no sniper support. They don't even have the helicopter up because it's at night, and they don't have thermal vision yet. So this movie plays out completely differently, even just 10 years later. Really interesting to be no longer in that evolutionary cycle of the SWAT team, but instead pretty much just at its infancy or even maybe pre-infancy.
You know what else was at its infancy? The character development of Scorpio. I have no idea what the hell was going on with him.
Hey, man.
Or why he was doing it, what he was thinking.
It's not his story. That's the difference. Your
I know.
expectation with
Mhm.
this movie is that you're going to get a fleshed out background or at least a tease. You're going to see what he's thinking, where he lives, why he's doing it, who treated him so
No, we
badly
see
when
all
he was a
that.
kid.
We see all that, but it's just not done. I guess it's the time period. I'll give it the George shoulder shrug.
Give it the
time
pass.
period. But I mean, 10 years later, like you're saying, 10 years later, you get Buffalo Bill. 15 years later. So it's like they are successful in keeping it the story about Clarice. The story is about Clarice. She's the
Mhm.
main character. Hannibal Lecter is only on screen for 18 minutes or whatever.
Yep.
But you get the backstory just enough. And it doesn't have to be like, let's go to Buffalo Bill's childhood. Let's go to Scorpio's childhood. But at least show him do a few
What makes
preparing
him
things,
tick?
like just
Yeah.
I don't even need to know why he's doing it. Just give me little bits. Like they showed me something major. He's a Raiders fan. That explains a lot.
Wow.
Just by showing me the pennant in his room. But you find out where he works. But it's not enough to make me want.
I think Dan supports the killer being a Raiders fan.
Oh yeah, fuck the Raiders.
Oh yeah, that's why I wrote that. I wrote that down. Fuck the Raiders. That was one of my notes because I knew. I wrote Raiders fan ... figures. That's what I said.
Was your dad a Raiders fan?
Yeah. So, nah. Well, I mean it's AFC, so I don't like them either. But to me, it was just that there was times where they could have done it, but they didn't bother doing it. Like you said, when he met up with the guy that was being paid to beat him up.
Yeah.
They let
I
you
thought
in
I was gonna
just
get
a
something.
little bit.
Yeah.
You find out he's conniving. You find out he's thinks ahead and has this whole plan, as the Joker would say. He doesn't have a plan, but he does.
No.
He has the plan. You see the fruition of his thoughts, but you never really see his thoughts. And then the guy playing it doesn't play it in a way that he's menacing and or scary. It's just he's got a plan. I didn't see him as almost like he was playing like he was a weenie. Like he was very whiny, and when he gets caught, it's almost like, oh, I stubbed my toe. Oh, don't. Like he was just so whiny. It almost seemed like he didn't have a malicious bone in his body, but he was uber malicious. Like he was malicious. He buried that girl on the ground and let her die.
Yeah.
But they did it in this. It was almost too subtle, to where you didn't get enough meat on that bone. There's meat elsewhere, but I think that the killer should get a little bit of meat, and he didn't have any.
Can we talk about why all of that evidence is admissible?
Yeah. That scene made me make a face a little bit. Now, I'm no law school graduate,
He had probable cause.
but there's a major discussion to be had regarding probable cause. But
he had exigent circumstances is what he had.
But here's the thing, guys. This movie shares something in common with a movie we watched a little bit back. I'm referring to Die Hard. Did you catch that, guys? It's got a real boots-on-the-ground guy just trying to get the job done while everybody above him's a freaking moron.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so to lean into that, they give you a prosecutor who's not even willing to test prosecution based on one expert opinion that maybe it's inadmissible, but without paying any attention to the other side of the argument, right? That's not how you hope most district attorney offices work. But, in 1970, 1971, you have to remember where we are as a nation, who has recently been elected president, what he ran on, what the temperature of the public was with regards to coming out of the 60s and trying to, regain order.
Okay. For those of us that weren't following politics in the early 70s, what are you talking about?
Okay, so Richard Nixon is president at this point.
Okay,
he
Nixon is
runs
president.
on law and order being one of his major selling points as a candidate. And so you've come out of the 68 riots and...
No, dude, I mean, like, I was born in 88.
Well, see, and that's the thing. What this movie needs is historical context, because what you've got is a society who a large chunk of the voting populace have seen enough of the upheaval of the 60s and are ready for kind of the pendulum to start swinging the other way.
Kind of repeating that time.
Maybe.
Are we not?
I don't know that we are yet. I'm not saying that we won't in the next 8 years or so see more of a swing.
The only difference is the media back then was a lot less biased for one way or the other. Like you kind of, with Cronkite, you felt like you were getting the news.
Right.
Now it's like, if I want to learn about this, I'll watch this channel. If I want to hear about this, I'm going to watch this channel. Like you already know.
Yeah, it's not
who's
even
going to serve you which bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's if I want to feel like I'm shitty and I could be better, I'll watch this network. And if I want to feel like I'm just shitty enough to be good, I'll watch the other one that tells me I'm fine. Ugh.
Or you watch the BBC, like I do.
Right, where they're all just making that face like they're going down a roller coaster and they didn't really want to. Like, oh no,
It's like, all right,
this all sucks.
little column A, column B,
Everything
column
sucks.
C.
This is
Yeah.
the BBC.
But yeah,
But
I mean,
yeah,
that time period was very rough.
It's
'cause
it's a time period where people had felt out of control, and to see a character who is so in control all the time and just making things better in every way he could, it was welcomed by the box office.
Yes.
it's kind of like Rambo in a way.
I was
First
thinking
Blood.
Rambo, and I was also thinking Punisher.
It's like Punisher. To me, I think Harry is John Rambo if he didn't become a soldier.
This could have been Punisher before he was Punisher. Like a lawman concerned with justice, not being able to do his job, and just saying, here's the badge, throw it in the lake, now I'm the Punisher.
I have to look it up. I don't know what year the Punisher debuted, but it was not too far off of this date. So I'm wondering if one came from the other, because his first appearance is in Spider-Man, and it was in the 70s. Might be 73. So he might have come, Frank Castle might have come from this, or vice versa.
So Frank Castle pops up as the Punisher in 1974. So well
Right.
after this has become kind of a tentpole of a certain outlook. Now, actually, 1974 will bring you the first Death Wish. So just to give you an idea of
Yes.
where the public is, not necessarily the entire public, but a section of the public is buying tickets to movies where men are shooting other men for justice.
Right.
Illegally, sort of.
Without the express written consent of Major League Baseball.
Right.
Right.
Right. They are taking the mattress tags off, and then they are shooting guys. And one of those two things will not stand.
They are not applying, lathering, and rinsing and repeating. No rules.
So you guys probably don't know this, because why would you know this? But George, I had you watch a little while ago, and actually Travis, you watched it too, a movie called What Have They Done to Your Daughters?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now that movie is kind of a giallo, but it's also kind of another thing, a poliziotteschi. All right, the poliziotteschi is a genre of film that became very popular in Italy and kind of took a lot of market share away from the giallo in like 73, 74, or 75. And while there were crime films and cop films before that date in Italy and in the United States, there is a very specific line of films which basically take Dirty Harry and a little bit of Death Wish and then just add a little Italian machismo. And, I mean, it made Maurizio Merli's entire career a sort of famous, kind of generic Franco Nero knockoff actor from Italy. I mean, you're talking about, just like the giallo, there's probably 150 poliziotteschi that come out, all of them influenced by Dirty Harry and Death Wish.
Mm.
And some of them are good, and a lot of them
Yeah.
are not good.
I can see that.
Yeah, I'm sure like the 90s movies, like Steven Seagal movies, were probably inspired by this as well. That whole vigilante, revenge, justice for killing my family, which is very Punisher-ish as well.
So it's not only Punisher-ish, it's very much Death Wish. And hopefully someday we watch Death Wish, but just to not spoil it all for George, the revenge for killing the family is a Death Wish idea, not a Dirty Harry idea. But both Dirty Harry and the Death Wish Charles Bronson character murder indiscriminately at times, using firearms for justice. So there is a shared heritage there that ends up in the Punisher, either via or at the same time as Death Wish.
See?
And I like it. Kinda. I don't know. I go back and forth because it's like, I think a lot of my perspective on this movie is influenced at all times by the Patriot Act stuff.
Right.
Because having grown up in that era, we've already been down all this, like, oh, it's an emergency, so we need to do all these things. And so I've got like I've got a Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney shaped devil on one shoulder being like, oh, it's an emergency. She's buried in the thing and they got to save her. Right. And then I've got like the angel on the other shoulder being like, hey, man, he's still got his rights. We got to do it by the law.
Yeah. We're still there.
And there is no
20 years later.
I just see the same things,
Yeah, the problem is, and this is just like some social commentary, there really is no place for common sense in law. Law, I had a law professor that used to say law is the precise use of language, right? And that is what it is. And so when you make a law, it has to be so specific and so detailed that any ambiguity, it's like a contract. Any ambiguity in a contract is the responsibility of the party drawing up the contract.
Because any lawyer can take apart anything that's vague.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But ask anybody. I sound like Trump. Ask anybody, they'll tell you it's common sense.
It's huge.
99% of people will be like, yeah, he did what he had to do. It's fine.
Well, and you highlight the exact conversation with the DA. This unwillingness of the district attorney to put his own reputation on the line with a case that could potentially get thrown out, and then for him to lean on the expert and be like, oh yeah, here's one way that it could potentially get thrown out, so we're not even going to touch it.
Right.
And the feeling it's supposed to give you as an audience, anytime this obviously bad guy starts crying out for his rights and his protections and all these things, it's supposed to make you feel like, oh, he's just cheating the system. The system's never going to get this guy, so that by the time he gets blown away, you're just like, yeah, man, that's fucking justice.
Right.
And that's not right or wrong. I mean, it's debatable whether it's right or wrong, but it's certainly, the movie builds itself into a corner so that it can, safely say to you, it was the right thing for this guy to blow that other guy away.
Another thing that I wanted to say about it was that the district attorney mentioned, his report, or like his curious report, like, do you know a cop that says, oh yeah, I shot the guy in the leg and then I stood on it? They put that in their report. They don't put that in their report. They're going to write in the report some legal way that they got the information that they needed. So, anyways.
I'd like to see the report. I'd like to see specifically how they actually did get away with that.
Me too.
I want more information. If anything, that's the one part of this movie I was like, yeah, I need more. I need to see that report. I want to know exactly how it was phrased that it's so angered the district attorney, but at the same time, like, he thought he could put that in the report and get away with it.
Well, I guess he's just so manly.
Well, he's a reticent hero. I put that in the old notes because you've got that weird interaction with his new partner's wife where she's like, why do you keep doing this? And he's like, I don't know. I mean, in a lot of ways, I guess they're going for like some way to like thread to the end his apparent resignation when he throws his badge away, that like, maybe he's now finally done. He's done the thing that he wanted to do. He's saved the lamb from, from the slaughterhouse, and now he can finally feel like, okay, now time to move on with my life.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, he doesn't move on with his life.
Yeah, I figured.
But I do really like Dirty Harry
sequel,
too.
he swims around looking for that badge.
Yeah.
It starts.
It's the whole movie.
With him at the lake scuba diving.
Yeah. He didn't realize he skipped it a few times because of, Star.
So it took longer.
Yeah.
I'm just looking up the SWAT team development. L.A. didn't even have one until after 1965. 1974 is when SWAT becomes a resource for Los Angeles. So yeah, you don't have a SWAT team in San Francisco at all in 71, but you have a need for it. In this movie, at least. Words. We said them. I wanted to talk about the surgery scene and how much it reminded me of the self-surgery scene in
Rambo?
No Country.
Oh, right.
Shotgun leg wound, the idea of picking little chunks of metal out of flesh.
What was it they were removing? Was it buckshot or was it shrapnel?
It was buckshot from the guy who he ends up shooting. Which again,
Okay, so-
he's justified in shooting that guy because that guy shot him first. Like,
Why is he trying to salvage pants that have buckshot holes in
they
it?
were $25, Travis.
I know, but he can't wear them anyway. They got buckshot holes in them.
Oh, it's just a
Should've let him
couple
cut
of
'em.
holes.
Now that is a plot hole that I need more information about.
It's
But I was thinking that when it happened, I was like, why does he care if he cuts the pants? They have buckshot holes in them. You can't fix that.
no man.
Yeah, I didn't think that, but I did kind of like roll my eyes, like, of course.
No.
Like, of course he doesn't want him to cut his pants, and he's not going to let him cut his pants because he's a man.
Right. I kind of wish this movie was made after Lethal Weapon, just because. Now, you didn't see Lethal Weapon, but the Harry Callahan character is so good and so ripe for that humor that Mel Gibson does in Lethal Weapon.
Mm-hmm.
That, and I could see Eastwood doing it, but it's not the time period, like not the era of film for it. Like you said, he's supposed to be the man's man, kind of, stoic, and he makes jokes, but he doesn't really ever even smile. Like, he just is.
Yeah.
I think if he was done maybe 10 years later, which he was, I think throughout the period of the character, he does lighten up and kind of become more of like a, not a Schwarzenegger type action hero, but he does get more one-liners that are, I don't know, it just seems like they develop it more. But back then, I think this movie would have had a lot of fun with that kind of writing, but they didn't write that kind of movie.
Right.
Because this guy was outlandish. This killer was ridiculous. Like
Yes,
you said, kind of
yes.
Joker-esque. The mayor was ridiculous. He does get a few zingers in on him. The prosecutor, ridiculous. The chief, they were all ridiculous. His partner, ridiculous. Every character
it's
is
Die
ridiculous.
Hard.
It's Die Hard,
Yeah.
man. It is.
But if his snarky, kind of conceited sarcasm came out more that he does to the mayor,
Right.
if that was more played out with
I've
with
been
the killer.
I've been sitting in your lobby for 3/4
Yeah.
of an hour.
That's a great scene.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was hoping for more of that, especially the more I got to know the killer. I was like, this guy's a shithead. He's just a piece of shit.
Mm.
And he never...
And he shouldn't stand a chance, really.
Right. But Callahan never plays into that. He never has any one-liners other than the end
Right.
with the killer.
Right.
Like, he could have said, you're a piece of shit, and, it kind of like wipe him off his shoe kind of mentality, but he
Yeah.
never... He treats it seriously.
Right. And he should. Yeah.
And he should, but there's
No,
so...
I was going
it's-
to say he shouldn't.
It takes it too seriously because the guy's so outlandish.
Yeah. If the guy was a more serious killer, it makes sense.
If he was, like Buffalo Bill had quirkiness, he had weirdness, he had little.
What? No, he was straightforward.
He had all the things that this guy had, but this guy was playing
Yo.
it to the guy in the back of the room.
You guys are putting together a killer season because all of these movies are like overlapping multiple ways. This is cool.
Stan,
Air high five to Travis. Boop.
if you knew how much we were back and forth on what we're playing next for the past year, it's like, this leads into this. Yeah, but this and this. But we should do this. But I want to do this.
Mm.
So we're trying.
Cool.
But I when I talked to Dan about this movie, I was midway through and I was not feeling it
Mm-hmm.
because it was my first view.
Right.
After watching it and realizing how it's kind of like Die Hard, where Die Hard was kind of the beginning of that era of film. This is the beginning of the cop film.
Yeah.
The procedural,
Yep.
detective.
Well, and
but
the cop who's willing to do stuff like
Right.
shoot a guy who maybe
Right.
didn't need to get shot. Like, you've got cop films in the 50s and 60s, but they're buttoned
Yeah.
up, straightforward, shiny.
Dragnet type stuff.
Yeah, and this is not your daddy's Dragnet.
This is John McClane before he gets on that plane and goes out to the coast to get together and have a few laughs.
Exactly. This is what
Like, I would like to watch that movie.
Yeah, this is John McClane. 2 months before. This is October of whatever year Die Hard takes place.
Right.
I don't think John McClane is this wild, but he is kind of wild. Because
But that would be a fun movie to watch because even in the sequels, it's the same premise where he's fish out of water in a situation that he's not. I want to see him as a cop.
Mm.
in a car with a partner.
Yeah.
Is it Training Day with Bruce Willis? I don't know, but I want to see it because it's an interesting character, and it's definitely well fleshed out to where you can really sink your teeth into it as a filmmaker and an actor to kind of give it even more depth. Because in the end, Die Hard was kind of one dimensional. It wasn't really.
All right, so on
Shakespeare.
that note, something I thought of while you were talking, I was kind of like saving it because I wanted to hear what you were saying. I think that season 2 has made me so far
Appreciate RoboCop?
more of a movie watcher.
Right.
Right? So when I started this venture, I was very like analytical about everything, and I liked serious movies, and I like tragedy movies, and I like things that are realistic and blah 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 blah. And
sometimes you just gotta pop some popcorn.
I wouldn't call Dirty Harry like a great movie.
Right.
But I spent an hour and a half watching it, and it wasn't great, but I'm not disappointed.
Right.
Because it's like, I don't know, I'm enjoying watching movies. I never did before.
Beautiful.
You
Another
know?
high five for Dan. What's funny is you're going to go back now, and you're going to watch movies that you might have hated. And now you'll go and you'll watch it with a different eye and go,
Yeah.
you know what?
And I'll say,
now I see what they were doing.
I'll be fan serviced.
And you'll be fan serviced,
Yeah.
and you'll see the satire in RoboCop.
Yes. God, you guys. Oh man.
Fan service, good stuff. And then you'll watch like the more recent movies, and then you go, "Oh, they did. I seen that. I saw that in 1971. Dirty Harry. What are they trying to do to me?"
So basically, what you're saying is there's like a curve. So like I started out at the bottom, not liking movies, and I'm gonna get to like the top of this big hill in the curve, and it's gonna be like prime movie watching, and then I'm gonna start watching newer movies, and it'd be like, I don't like any of this
You're gonna turn into me at the end of that when you fall down that.
It's true. Like you guys are the same age, right?
Just about,
basically, yeah.
And Dan shows me movies that I should have seen when I was
It's true.
18, 19. But I had my genres that I watched. Or like with this, I thought I saw the original, but I honestly never did. So it's like you're brought up. My dad brought me up with the right mentality with movies. He showed me all kinds of different things. And then I kind of latched on to what I latched onto and then took it from there. With this, I'm watching things I haven't seen before, and I'm liking them. And I look at Dan, he's 10 years younger than me, and he likes shit from 1972, and I'm like, ugh. Like, I gotta watch this? And then I watch it, and I either dislike it for nostalgic reasons, or I like it because it's a great movie. But like with Old Country, I could have hated that. I could have loved it.
There's no way you could have hated it.
Right now, I like it.
Such a good
In
movie.
time, I'm going to love it.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that I'm going to probably watch a few times and realize, yeah, this is gold.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of those movies where you had to watch it 3 or 4 times to realize why everybody loves it. So you're going to see movies that we, like with Dan, showed you RoboCop, which is one of his favorite movies, and then you're like, I don't know.
Well, I had no...
You had no frame of reference.
No
Right.
frame of reference. So
And I bought something this week that we will play in about 10 years. And it's a movie trivia game.
Movie trivia? Yeah,
And
I would suck
It's something
at
you
that.
can't play now.
Do you want to win
you
that
will.
game? Play with
I'll
me
play
right
it now. Yeah. But if you think about it, I saw it and I'm like, I'm going to buy this for future episode where we just play this where George can actually compete.
Mm.
So it'll be a
Actually,
while.
you know what we should do? We should bring in 2 scrubs and have me
And
beat them.
Mop the floor. He's like, when I was 32, I didn't see any movies. Now I've seen them all.
Just bring in 2 of my sisters.
Yeah, oh my God. But yeah, and I'm glad. That's why I'm glad we're doing this, because
Me too.
I've seen 3 movies now that I haven't seen before.
Well, and I
Because
mentioned
it's
one
actually
today that you were like, oh, no one's ever heard of that. That's a movie that no one's ever heard of. And I'm like, oh, dude, you don't even know yet. Like,
Mm-hmm.
This one is one we're not going to watch it this season. It doesn't fit in this season so well,
Right.
but it's for later, and I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised.
Well, I want to clear that up. I'm not saying that because I haven't seen it. No one's seen it, because I know that's not true. My thought was, is it mainstream enough to fit into the curriculum? That's what I was asking. Like, is it, the mentality here is, what do you mean you haven't seen Godfather? Everybody has seen The Godfather.
Right.
Not
That's in our wheelhouse.
Right. What was the movie you said, Dan?
It was Play Misty for Me.
Right, Play Misty for Me. I've never heard of it. I know it's a Clint Eastwood movie, but I've never seen it, it's never really been spoken of. So I was like, I don't know if people will know what that is. I wasn't saying, I don't know what it is, so
keep
no one
an
knows
ear
what it
out,
is.
because that's one that gets referenced. Kind of like there's 2 or 3 movies that involve like crazy nannies that you hear. The Hand That Rocks the Cradle's one.
Yes.
Where people will reference it in other things like The Simpsons and other pop culture things. And if you keep an ear out, every now and then somebody will mention Play Misty for Me in that same kind of context. It's not a nanny movie, but it's the same kind of thing where for a while it was kind of go-to example of a certain behavior.
Like Fatal Attraction is always brought up first, that kind of behavior. It's like, oh, there's like 5 or 6 movies like that.
Right,
So
exactly. Kind of that same, there was one moment, and I'm having trouble placing the audio in my memory of which of the hundreds of giallos I've watched the past 5 years. The music in this movie, that la 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 la, you hear that motif in Italian movies for the rest of the 70s. Like, get used to hearing that hit. And so I had to go look it up. I was like, is this one of the guys? Like, is this one of the giallo movie guys doing the music? And no, it's some Hollywood guy. But those, 2 or 3 guys that do all the music in the giallos, they were listening.
Yeah.
There were a few times watching this movie I was like, oh, this is so from that. I wouldn't call it a giallo because I'm not educated enough, but you can tell the influence.
Oh man, and that funky score, yeah. I mean, you're gonna hear this in a lot of Italian movies for the next 7 years.
It was so funky, dude.
The funkiness and that kind of almost like the kids singing and like a la 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 la. It's almost like it's a little weird.
Death by chocolate.
Yeah, but then the woman swimming, and it's like guy point of view watching with binoculars. I'm like, it's everything that he.
It was very giallo. Yes.
Very giallo.
Yes.
And I can't really say that until I hear Dan say it. Then I'm like, yeah, I felt the same way.
Yeah.
Because I want to sound like an idiot and go, that was giallo. And you're like, no.
Well,
or you could just do what I do and say it and sound like an idiot.
I think if you were to try to chart it out, you'd probably have to say that was Hitchcock, right? I don't think, because Bird comes out in 1970, so you're right in that same era, but I don't think there's been time for it to influence like it will over the next 2 or 3 years in this timeline. So I think you're still, if it's there, it's just a shared influence from Hitchcock.
Would it be more like the influence of like the black exploitation type movies? Because that music's not in a Hitchcock film. That kind of.
I think that music is
like
just.
a hippie,
I think that is just
that funky music.
1971. I mean, that's just because the blaxploitation stuff is a 70s trope, but I don't know that it's there in 71 yet. I'm not a historian of blaxploitation movies, but I've enjoyed my fair share. But most of them come from
when
the
did Bullet
mid-70s.
come out? Did Bullet have that kind of a soundtrack? The Steve McQueen movie?
I don't know I wouldn't know the Bullet soundtrack if it smacked me in the face.
Right.
You know what this soundtrack reminded me of? Probably a movie that neither of you have seen, and it was definitely satire. Black Dynamite.
Oh, I'm aware of Black Dynamite. I have not watched it.
Yeah, I know what it is, but I've never seen it.
That's what this soundtrack reminded me of.
Well, see, and that's
like
what we're talking about
like
is
the most 70s.
That's
the
that black
movies,
exploitation.
Yeah, the movies
era.
that Black Dynamite was referencing are the movies that I'm trying to figure out.
Yes.
Where they fit.
But I think those all come later. I want to say those are like 73 to 78.
Hey, as long as we watch I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, I'm game. As long as they lead into that somewhere, I'll watch any of those. Because Tarantino kind of does that too. He kind of plays into that.
Tarantino, you can tell he really does have an affinity for that genre. Yeah, the notable ones, the first ones start off in 1970. Sweetback's Badass song, 71. So Shaft 71. I mean, you're in the
Shaft,
in the same ballpark. I think it's just
It definitely has a Shaft feel to it.
but I think it's just that era, you know.
That era,
Just
right?
that is
Yeah.
what was going on in 1970.
Word.
I do like some of those movies though, man. Anything with Pam Grier, you know. Coffee is a good one. Foxy Brown is probably my favorite of all of them. Those are good. Those are fun movies. Yeah.
So where do we go from here?
I don't know, man. Do you think we ought to just keep the momentum going where it's going, Travis? Because I think we should.
We are going to follow up.
Hold on a sec.
Oh, wait, what?
Before you do this, I love how you deliver the next movie.
Why?
Every week you're like,
It's
it's
like a game show.
we
Today we
are going to watch a movie. It is in the genre of something and blah 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 blah. And
right.
it's like, tell me what the fucking movie is, dude. All right, go ahead. Do your thing. Do it the way you would do it.
We
Don't change.
George, this week we're going to venture down a road that brings us into the genre of no, we are going to partake in another movie that I don't believe I've seen the entire thing. So this is going to be fun as well.
Another movie you haven't seen?
Now, I've seen it, but I don't remember watching the whole thing. Although I loved what I saw.
Oh,
It was just the kind of movie I wouldn't go see with my girlfriend and or wife.
Tell me what it is
What do you
before
think
I
it is,
strangle
George?
you.
God, it's Showgirls. Okay, we're watching Showgirls. Move on.
I'm stalling because I forget what we picked.
Well,
No, hold on.
George, this
Well, George,
coming
we're great.
episode, we are going to be
No,
watching.
No. Just edit this shit out.
or don't. Or don't. Or keep everything.
Because it shows the dynamic of this. Son of a bitch. We are going to watch Foxy Brown now. We're going to watch Jackie Brown.
What?
Jackie Brown. Do you know who Jackie Brown is?
No.
What it involves? Who
Is that
made
the
it?
title of the movie?
That is the title. Is that the right movie, Dan?
We are watching the movie Jackie Brown from
Jackie Brown.
1997.
Is a.
Hold on.
Do we tell them who made it?
I don't know that we tell anything about it because, George, do you
I
have
don't know.
any idea what Jackie Brown is?
Nope.
Okay, let's keep it
Nope,
that way.
Not at all.
That was fun with the First Blood. Although Stallone is not in this.
Yeah, am I going to start watching Jackie Brown and be like, oh, this is...
Rambo 3, damn it.
Yeah,
Rambo 3.
Some character that I know already.
No, I don't think you'll
No?
know at all. No. I was trying to search for words because I kind of like you not knowing anything about it. So I was going to say, oh, this
Well.
is a blah, blah, blah film and blah, blah,
No.
blah.
Yeah, no.
But no, I like the fact that you don't know it.
I don't know anything about this movie. This is great.
Beautiful.
We're going to need your wife's help to put the disc in. And
For real. Do you seriously want me to not know what's on the DVD?
I don't
on
know. I don't know what
the
the
art.
I don't know what the art looks like.
it won't give anything away, except
Okay.
it's just
Who's
more
in it?
fun if you don't know. It's more fun for me to push you into these things completely blindfolded and just be like, here's a movie, watch it.
All right.
I do. I like that.
Then I'll have Meg put it in the PlayStation so I don't have to look at it. And start it and then pause it once the movie's running.
Mm.
So I can come in the room and start watching the movie.
Do you think, Travis, that maybe we should let George know that he's got a little spring fling coming?
I think that would be fun.
A few weeks from now, he's got a spring fling coming.
Yeah. Are you? I'll let you tell him because I don't want to give away too much.
Well, I'm not going to tell you much, George, but if you thought the fall break was fun, do you have any idea what we've got planned for you this spring?
Springtime.
The only pretty ring time. Birds sing. A ding. A ring a ding ding ding.
I mean, is it another horror?
It's another marathon of some
Marathon?
sort. Yeah.
We might be increasing your workload a little bit in a few weeks.
It's a marathon.
We might
It's
be
a break.
planning on
It's a franchise where there's lots of movies.
It's not a franchise.
maybe it
No.
is. I
Per
don't
se,
know.
but maybe it is.
Maybe we're not going to tell him.
Oh, you're not telling me. No, I
There
have no
will
idea.
be boobs.
There will be, and there will be blood.
That's okay.
But it's not like, oh, we're going to watch all the Halloweens. It's going to be a little bit more.
Or is it?
Is it?
Nothing says the middle of spring like a movie that takes place in the autumn.
That's going to be our next fall break, I think.
I think that probably is, yeah. Thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class Podcast. As always, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Remedial Film Pod. You can find us at facebook.com/Remedial Film Pod. You can join the Extra Credit discussion group at facebook.com/groups/Remedial Film Pod. And if you're feeling the need for speedier mail than you get from the USPS, you can email us at remedialfilmpod@gmail.com. We'll see you in 2 weeks for Jackie Brown. Oh, God, don't make me watch Halloween 6 again. I love it. I mean, it's great.
Well, we can work in there the Texas Chainsaw remake. We could put together a cute little syllabus.
I do love Texas Chainsaw remake. And George will, too.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, come on. It's Jessica Biel.
I love Jessica Biel.
Yeah, you're going to like...
Don't tell my
remake.
wife.
Yeah, we won't. She's listening now. But
my wife texted me earlier. She's like, did I just hear a Flea Market Montgomery reference from the other room? Yeah, you did. You did, babe.
It's good she heard it because it's probably getting cut. No, I think we're keeping that in. That was a good one. I like that.
we need to really discuss the fact that George hasn't seen The Godfather.
I know. That's really like, it's on in the back of my mind now that we got to get that in somewhere.
And you haven't seen Jaws?
Nope.
Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I know about Jaws is it's Spielberg.
Oh, it's so Spielberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a Jaws
And
Jurassic Park.
if you watch it backwards, it's a heartwarming story of a shark that gives disabled people limbs.
Oh, no.
This is our after credits conversation, I think.
I guess,
It's
yeah,
a
I never really thought
heartwarming
about
story.
it, but if you watch zombie movies in reverse, it's like these zombies are putting
true.
people back together and putting their guts back in.
I saw that in a meme. So that's not an original joke.
There's a trailer on YouTube where they took like a rom-com trailer formula and made that with Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, that's
So it's
amazing.
like Clarice, Hannibal Lecter, like love story.
Oh man.
It's good. Yeah, it's genius.